Welcome back, legends, to another market outlook. Really excited to get into today's webinar. Today's only going to consist of an hour. Unfortunately, guys, I am short on time, so I'm generally just going to be going over market structure today. Like I said, on the last webinar as well, until we see a definitive change between market structure, it's really not necessary for me to cover monthly structure, weekly structure in depth, only because we're not changing. There's just no changes occurring within structure right now, so there's no point for me spending 20-30 minutes of the webinar going through that until we change. Once we do change, then I'll be like, all for it, let's go back into how I'm normally breaking down the webinar. But because of that, legends, we're predominantly going to be focusing on the daily, some smaller time frames as well. So just mainly looking at what's going on within structure, as well as how we could expect potential entries. And so if you guys are new to the webinar, this is the first time that you guys have been here, welcome. Usually these consist and take place on Tuesday, but because of all the data that we had coming out this week, like I was explaining to some of the other legends that arrived here earlier, we can see that if I change this up real quick, we can see here that we have a tremendous amount of data coming out this week, which is for us swing traders is not something that we like, simply for the fact that it causes us to be limited on the amount of trades that we can take. Now, personally, I am completely, I can't even speak, sorry, but personally, guys, I am completely limited on what I can do this week, only because if you guys follow me and you guys know who, and how I trade, you guys know that I only trade dollar index pairs. And so if that's the case, very tough for me to get in trades without incurring consolidation, especially in weeks like this, for the sole factor that, look, if we start with Monday and we go through it, can't take a trade because, Tuesday I got U.S. news, so I know that data is going to be pending leading up into it. Wednesday, I can't be pulling trades because we got some big U.S. news coming out. And then Friday, once again, we got trades coming out. So if you think about it, the only real time that I got chances to pull triggers are in Thursday. And it's basically me stating, well, I got a 12-hour shot to do this, because if not, I got to run it into pending data. That's not something I'm interested in. And so in weeks like this, legends, you guys got to understand that, as a professional trader, as someone who does this as a full-time living, I'm not trading all the time, especially as a swing trader. And especially as I get deeper into the year, solely for the fact that I've done and made majority of my money in Q1, Q2, and part of Q3. Q4 is where I typically shine, but just personal results speaking. But, for the most part, majority of my work has been done for the year. My risk is so diminished for the fact that I keep a set lot the entire year, so it just reduces as the account compounds. And so with that, I'm a little bit more easy when it comes to hunting for trades, and I'm a little bit more cautious on I want to preserve my capital and make sure that I'm, moving closer to my end of year goal so that I can compound and go about correctly for 2019. And so I want you guys to understand, unless you guys were an intraday trader or you guys are scalpers and things like scalpers and stuff like that, this was not a week for swing trading. If you hear any swing traders saying that they took trades, they are lying. It is not true. If they're true swing traders, because you can't tell me that you could swing a position in an environment like this. It's just not happening. Not without running your trades through news. And the only stipulation that they could put on it is that they reduce risk by shoving their stops to break even and gave it a shot. Then I'll say, okay, that's fine. But typically speaking, been quite tough to take trades this week, and that's perfectly fine. And so, legends, going into what you guys want to go over and what's going to be going on. What's going on with the markets this week? What can we expect? And things of that nature. Well, if you guys have been trading, I hope you guys have been trading safe. Secondly, legends, I want you guys to take into consideration that we still do have some pretty important data coming out for the next 2 days. We can see that we have a tremendous amount of pound news, a little bit of AU news, some more pound news, CAD, but mainly US is the main focus for the remainder of the week. We want to see what's going to go on with this and this right now, right? Those are indications of potential increase in rates or not. So you want to be quite careful on what's going to happen there. So does that mean your boy Albert's going to be trading? No, I'm done for the week, legends. I've not even pulled a single trigger. I'm not interested in weeks like this. This is something where I just sit on my hands and watch and see everyone else attempt to try to rip some pips out and end up losing to the institutions. And so this is a week for me just to look back, visualize, and observe. For you guys, I believe it should be the same. You have to look at the following week and be like, well, you know what? This week will create opportunities. Next week, we got nothing coming out, I believe, right? No, that'd be from the 6th through the 10th, legends. And So next week, once again, we only have news till Thursday, so we're free range trading up until Thursday next week. That's why I always argue, you guys, in the end of the day, you know, they're saying that I'm always saying the opportunist versus the gambler. Don't be the gambler, be the opportunist. The gambler, you know, will attempt to take any opportunity in the world, while the opportunist will wait for its golden opportunity and then pull the trigger. As the legend Warren Buffett always says, you want to think of trading or investing as, you know, correlated to the baseball metaphor. You know, a baseball player does not hit every single ball thrown to them, or it doesn't take a swing at every single pitch, but looks for that one perfect one so that they can strike a home run. Same thing with your trading, legends. You guys are looking for those 1-2 golden opportunities a week. If you guys can get it, pull the trigger and move on to the following week. If you guys don't get it, it is what it is. There are thousands of opportunities within the market weekly. So with that, legends, excited to get into today's webinar. Sorry for that little rant. And so once again, this is a Q&A webinar as well. If you guys don't know how I run these webinars, what I typically do is I go through these $6 index pairs from top down all the way down to the monthly to the smaller time frames. But like I have told you guys in the last webinar, I'm not going to be focusing so much on the monthly and weekly time frames for the next coming weeks until we see clear definitive changes within structure, only because you can see most pairs across the board have been range bound and have not been doing much in the last coming weeks, making it quite difficult for us swing traders to give, you know, plausible ideas of which way structure is going to move, because we don't have enough information for us to really predict which way structure is going to move in the short term and long term, as we are range bound. And so with that, legends, hope you guys enjoy this webinar. Let's get into it. I'm hyped. Apologies about not running it yesterday, but like I said, was not interested in running in something that would not be a benefit of you. So legends, let's do it. Let's do it. So what's been going on? So once again, just like I said, nothing's been really changing. Markets have been extremely range bound, but more importantly, we are getting ideas of which way we come about, but it's still too early. Why? Because even though right now I'm stating that we're in a reversal pattern, if you guys know how trends come about, trend needs 4 points, not 2. If you guys want more information on that, Instagram TV is a great place for you to go. Under my page, I go over exactly why you need 4 points to form a trend. And so this is what we classify in our course as a reversal pattern. And at the same time, this is a textbook candlestick play that we look for simply for the fact that we are at a major level. We've accelerated quite hard and we are decelerating quite aggressively, which makes sense, as if you look left, we can see a lot of pending orders, a lot of consolidation that has occurred in the past. Now, a lot of people have been mentioning and have been stating, you know, Albert, we're getting that inverted head and shoulders. We're getting that inverted head and shoulders. But yeah, we might get this inverted head and shoulders that is forming right here. And then we might get it to come about stating that this is going to be the neckline. But you have to remember, this is going to have to come back and correct first, right? And it's going to have to establish the right shoulder. Why does it have to do that? It doesn't necessarily have to come to here, but we have to see a state of liquidation or relief before we're going to expect this thing to continue. Reason being is, you know, if you just look at it from a basic economic standpoint, currencies can't appreciate or depreciate in a given direction for excess of time. It's not healthy. And so looking at it, we're expecting liquidation. I'm not stating that dollar is going to be a complete bear market for the next, you know, 12 months. But if we're in a bear market for 3 months, I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised at all. And so looking at where we are within dollar as of right now, some plausible scenarios are coming about, right? That was the first one, which was the head and shoulders thin inverted. The second one is pulling all the way back to where this initial bullish run had come about, and creating a structural retest when we come about, and this would still be treated as relief, and we could expect a rally back to the upside. Once again, we would still have that inverted head and shoulders forming, but we're more curious about, you know, this is ideally as long, you know, the longest point that you want to be riding dollar. If you're a part of my course, you guys understand that everything has a, you know, has a place for itself, and you understand that it's just a puzzle and you got to put the pieces together. You look at DXY right now in the daily legends, and we're really not going to go into the smaller time frames because I'm not interested in that on the dollar. But you look at it, it's, you know, it's really two ways, right? If I took away this and I make it nice and simple and things like that, even though we're expecting potentially this to push down to here, just take a look at this. We're at this in this range right now, doesn't matter because we can simply just break out, pull back, and start rallying up, right? But if we start to see this, we're definitely going to expect at least one pull to at least the 92 handle to create that, you know, right shoulder. But we wouldn't be surprised if we pull down to the 90s, only because that's where the initial bull run started, right? And so that would just create a structural retest. And then from there, if we start to kick back above, we know that this is definitely continuing. But if we start to continue to crack down, we could start to state that this is all false, and we could expect further continuation down to the lows. But until then, legends, it's too tough to tell. I don't care who you are, unless this breaks out one direction or the other, don't come and tell me which way dollar is going to move, because all I'm going to tell you is what price tells me, and it's simply range bound. The one thing, guys, that I will say that does get under my skin quite a bit is that, yes, I do give plausible theories and I do give ways that price is going to go about, but I make it a fact that these plays won't play out until we actually receive X movement or Y movement. I love how when people are within here, they're like, oh, dollar is definitely going to, tank. Well, we don't know that yet. We don't have enough information. You're making an assumption off of a feeling that you have. That is not something that you want to be, thinking about moving forward. You want to just simply make it so simple and look for higher highs or short-term lower lows down to the lows. That's it, okay? So pulling it to EU, the direct inverse, right? Same structure. And so just clear, once again, it's the same aspect of how we're looking at dollar, right? You do have a potential head and shoulders to come about. But the most important thing, legends, that you need to factor in is where we are at this 115 handle. It's a very, very tough area. We can see a lot of rejection occurring within there. Now, within that, right, the one thing that you guys got to understand is that even if this starts to flag out and continue to push higher, like we're stating here, this is all going to be warranted as short term for the sole factor that, the max that we would be buying EU is into that 121, 122 area. This is where the sell started, just like I was illustrating on dollar. This is all going to be treated as relief for a state of liquidation, and we're expecting this to kick in. And if that's the case, we're expecting this to start rallying back down. But like I said, I don't have enough information yet for someone to tell me which way we're going to move. As of right now, people, this is the impulse, this is the relief. Yeah, we should start going, right? But at the same time, you could be like, that's the impulse, this is the relief. So what you do in the end of the day is you just simply state, what, we are range bound. Therefore, the buys are warranted as short term, the sells are warranted as short term, and that's how you're going about it in either direction. You're not interested in anything else until you see a clear break above here or a clear break below there. If that doesn't happen in either direction, don't even try to touch it from a swing perspective. The signal that we sent last week, EU, that went through, that wasn't a swing trade. We understood that. That's why we marked the risk parameters on it as a higher risk associated trade, because it wasn't a true swing. It was simply a trade that we were able to take with inside the range that we were in. And so taking a look at where we are within EU as of right now, what we could expect. Well, once again, first and foremost, I'm going to run a different scenario with you guys this week, okay? And I'm really excited to illustrate and go over how we're going to break down structure, because we're going to really be a little bit more analytical and really assess which way structure could be moving, okay? So let's take a look at the 4-hour time frame. First and foremost, we are range bound, which means our entire bias is short term from both the buys and the sells. That's a given, because your ultimate buy, the ultimate time you're buying up, EU is up to 118.30. The most that you're selling it down to is about 115.10. There's nothing else you can do. I don't care who you are. This is all you can expect. You're going to expect rejections from the left. You're going to expect rejections from down there. That's all you care about. But now, looking after we've established these two critical areas, now it becomes a game of, well, who's the driver? Well, what did we go back into? This is a range-bound pair, so therefore there is no actual driver in the game. So we come back to, okay, it's short term. We know that the entirety of the momentum is bearish, all good, and things of that nature, but we are range-bound short term. Within the range bound, we do see this massive drop that Draghi caused in the mid of June. Now, within that massive drop, we can now have a good understanding of why structure has been pulling back, but more importantly, has been so decelerated every time it makes a bullish run. One thing you have to factor in is that we've never cleanly broken back above where this initial sell had once occurred, therefore stating that this is still in power. Reason being is because my students of the course know that this would be warranted as a structural retest and can warrant potential further continuation to the downside. As well, at the same time, we know that we're short term on the buys, because you know what, we are range bound and the entirety of the momentum is still downside, which is what caused the range. So if that's the case, legends, then taking a look at it, it's like, okay, now I have key understandings of, even though this is the driver, how much am I buying EU into? Well, if you're buying it into here, that's ideally the last spots you want to be buying it into. And then if you can get another break to the top, start invalidating, this initial area, then you're golden. right? But again, short term because you are range bound. So looking at it as of right now, Legends, how are we going to take the trade? How are we looking to go about it? Well, let's take a look at right now. What do we see? Well, we see a lot of rejections within there. And I do believe, if I am correct, I see a lot of rejections sitting within here, okay? So if that's the case, now we made it very self-explanatory and very easy on where we want to go. But even though we're seeing a lot of rejections at certain handles, I still want to be below certain key levels. So let's make it very simplistic, very easy. For the buys, Legend, I want to see a big break back above. Not only my 0.236, but I want to invalidate all of this bearish momentum from there. I'm going to look for a short-term continuation pattern. If we break above, this is your rally to the upside. Short-term, once again, because the entirety of the momentum is range-bound, okay? Now, if that doesn't happen, not only do we want to see, Legends, a pretty strong break to the downside, but you want to clear all of these false breaks, and on top of that, you want to be back below that daily support. You want to start to say that, you know what, all of this, yeah, that's invalid. You got to start invalidating that. So what we're going to look for, Legends, is a hard enough drop below, and then you're going to look for some type of continuation pattern, and then you can start really targeting it not only to the weekly, that could be one, but really your ultimate goal is to get back to the lows at the 118, right? I mean, the 115.10. Reason being, Legends, is I'm going to switch colors here for a second with you guys. This is an area that you guys should not really be interested in. Reason being is because if we take a look at a smaller perspective, it's really tough to gauge who is in power. You could state this is the power. This is all, relief liquidation within this bigger thing. We're expecting this to kick in. But then the other, trend trader would state, well, this is your driver, and this is all relief. And as long as we're still holding the base, why are we saying it's the base? Well, what caused this driver? It's the break of here, right? And then the invalidation of this previous low. So such critical areas within these two regions, as long as this holds, this could all be treated as relief as well. So in instances like this, guys, when it becomes too difficult to figure out who the driver is, the team and I, we just make it very simplistic and very easy. And we're just going to be like, all right, Legends. So therefore, and I'm going to make them really fat so you guys can see it. We want clean breaks below, or we want clean breaks above, and we're not touching anything in the middle. It's as simple as that, Legends. Break above, short-term pullback, start rallying that up. Break below, short-term pullback, and start rallying that down. Those are your true trades. Failure to do either, Legends, you're not interested in that. I even put it in the shit color, but you're not interested in that, right? And that's not something that you guys want to trade. Once again, going on to the other pairs, we're just going to stick at the daily right now because, and especially on CAD, I went over this multiple times on what we're going on the smaller time frame. I just want to focus on this right now and not really get too complex about what's occurring on the weekly, are we breaking out, and things like that. Because once again, this is another structure that can have multiple biases to it, just like EU did. So let's start off. Let's start off with the entirety of the picture, and then we're going to focus more intraday. So we can see that we have this huge impulse to the downside. Fair. So with every impulse does come a state of liquidation or relief. That's what we're expecting. Now we take a look at it, and it's okay, what we are, ascending, but the ascending is nowhere near what the descending's momentum was. And on top of that, we are not invalidating how the initial descending started. How did the initial descending start? It started by breaking these lows and stating that this previous bullish momentum was now invalid. Okay, so therefore now this becomes right here a structural retest. Students in my course know. And once again, if you guys took this trade, shout out to you guys, not interested, but basic candlestick play, huge impulse, deceleration, reversal, structural retest to the left. Quick, easy sells back down. I was just on a call a couple hours ago with another gentleman who's part of the course. He took this. Shout out to you. And so looking at it, once again, it becomes a bit difficult because it's like, who's the driver? Are we, majorly decelerated? Which way should we be moving? Well, let's go over it like we did with EU. Overall momentum is bearish, and we got that. That's cool. And I'll put S for sells. But then within that, we're in a liquidated movement, right, which tells us that all the buys are short-term and all the sells are long-term, because that's going to be a continuation of this driver. Now, within that, Legends, what we're taking a look at here, it's okay, well, what's going on currently? We see this huge rally to the upside. How did this rally occur? Well, it occurred by really breaking above that 128.76. That's its base. And so the 128, to about 129, that's the serious critical area that we want to be aware of. And so in reality, we're only expecting CAD to start coming down here. And then we could expect another rally back above. Why are we stating that, Legend? Because remember, this is your short-term driver. And so if that's the case, all of this is treated as liquidation or profit taking. we could get another rally back to the upside. It's very viable. It's very possible. But once again, legends, as you start selling or buying deeper and deeper into a liquidated movement, students of the course know this. Shout out to you, legends. Risk automatically increases, right? Because at some point you're expecting for that initial impulse, that initial momentum to start kicking in to see continuation of that trend. And so key areas for us in USD CAD are going to be this 128, 129 handle. And at the same time, it's going to be above the 131, right? Because this is ideally how the sell really started out. Taking a look at it at the 4-hour time frame, we're going to make it very simplistic, very easy. So once again, what did we state here? This is critical. We know that. And then more importantly, this is all a mess once again. Okay, very two critical areas that we're just looking at. Just trying to illustrate very quickly for you guys the false breaks, things like that. Now let's go over this. This is your driver. Now, if you took the entry here, notice this, and this will be a good lesson for all you legends that are in here. That I teach the roller coaster analogy to all my students. A roller coaster analogy, legends, is basically dictating when the trend starts, using the trend as your roller coaster. As the roller coaster continues, your risk will automatically increase. And so taking a look at it like that, you guys want to really factor in if this is a liquidated movement. Within the liquidated movement, where am I, and more importantly, you know, where am I in the roller coaster, and how much deeper is the, you know, is the structure becoming where the risk starts to increase? Here is the beginning. Here we're at the end. Why? Because this rally started by breaking this resistance. So this is the end. If you're taking sells A, where the initial basis of that initial impulse occurred, and B, it's such a critical area, and then C, factoring in what's occurring in USD CAD, you're just asking to take a loss because you're going to see some serious, you know, firepower sitting at those previous regions. And so looking at it, how are we going to go about this? Oh, I want those two levels. So how are we going to go about this, legends? Well, it's two simplistic fashions, right? What I'm going to do is I'm just change this up. We're going to keep this short-term trend that we got going on here. And let's just make it really simple on which way we could expect CAD to move. So looking at it like this, now it's very clear, very simple. We can see here, for us to initiate a buy, we got to start invalidating this previous region, short term. Now, we can say that this is the impulse. This could be treated as reversal, but we did break out of a continuation pattern, but not necessarily really pulling. So that's the case. If we're going to expect this market momentum to continue up, what are we going to want to see first and foremost is break back above the daily resistance. Let's start invalidating this. Then from there, look for a short-term continuation pattern and start running that back up to your daily resistance short-term, because this could all be treated as relief and start rallying one more to the downside. Now, the only way that we'd start invalidating once again is you can see this sell occurred by breaking this low. We got to break back above, short-term continuation, and you're still rallying short-term. Once again, it could become a structural retest to the left here and start dropping again. The only way you would see continuation is if we rallied back above now this whole region. You want to invalidate this rejection of the weekly resistance, look for continuation on the smaller time frames, and start running that as high as you possibly can. Okay, but you want to keeping in mind that, you know, we're in such a critical area when it comes to USD CAD, and we're really changing we're potentially really changing the market environment. So even if we keep rallying, you know, you could expect this to be relief, expect another rally. We pull back up to here, this could still be liquidation, and then we start another drop just like we did here after that relief. So the question's going to become, you know, when is CAD really going to make its big push, whether it's the upside or downside? So we're going to treat everything as short term because of just what's happening on the weekly. Those are the buy scenarios. Now, the red areas that I have here, legends, those are going to be warranted as, you know, areas that you want to call them critical zones, areas that you want to be very careful with. And please keep in mind the daily is still ascending. So in reality, this is how it's going about. You break below a short-term continuation pattern, you could run it into the next critical area. Once again, a short-term continuation pattern, you could run it again into the weekly support. You're done with this. Now you're done selling it. Why? Because in the end of the day, now you're really, really pushing into this liquidated movement. You're really pushing into it because you're still expecting this to come up. You can't say that this is not going to happen anymore until you invalidate the whole thing. And so that's the case. Then if you want to take this below the weekly support, you got to see a daily break below, continuation on the smaller time frames, and then start running that for one last sell. But once again, if you take my roller coaster analogy, and let's say we start this, by the time you get to there, you are all the way at the end. The risk has increased significantly. And so those are going to be your short-term buys and short-term sells. I'm not going to try to give indications of what's going to happen here or what's going to happen here, because you know what? Those are really critical. But ideal trade scenarios that could come about. Have to be careful because USD CAD structure is quite aggressive, quite excessive on the weekly time frame. Now, Pulling it into yen. Oh, my fibs are all messed up. I got to fix this. Let's take the fibs out of here. I have not updated my charts, guys, in a couple of days, only because I decided that I was not going to be on the charts because of all the news that was coming out. So apologies about this, legends. But taking a look at UJ, once again, there's no point in going into the smaller time frames because it's too tough right now to give a bias on which way we're going to move. Now, we have to point out a couple of things real quick before we can really start getting into this analysis, okay? Now, I want you guys to take a look at the entirety of the structure, and what do you see? Well, you first see this huge driver to the upside. All right, legends. So what does that mean? Could all of this be treated as profit taking or relief? And now could we really start rallying to the upside? Tough to say. It's possible, because then this could be just a structural retest, right? It's very possible, but it's really tough to say as of right now, because if I switch colors and use for the bears, this is your driver, and this, in my opinion, is still, to me, treated as a liquidated state or relief for one reason. We're not clearly breaking back above this region yet, guys. And so that's why I'm saying I'm being very careful with both biases here, even from the daily and smaller time frame, only because, you know, we haven't clearly broken above the 112, 113. We've tagged it. We've created structural retest, but we've seen some serious bearish pressure start coming in once we start tagging those areas. Now, don't get me wrong. Completely understand why. You know, you take a look at everything that goes on here. It's just a mess. It's just a mess within this region regardless, okay? And so, you know, you're going to expect consolidation. You're going to expect, a really exhausted movement. It's understandable. But in the end of the day, 115 is it for the sells. I mean, for the buys right now. For the sole factor, guys, that if this is truly going to be a liquidated movement, we cannot break back above 115, because this is how the entirety of this whole sell started about. So if that's the case, this is the max that we'd expect we'd start buying, UJ into, and then from there we'd expect it to start dropping back below. The only times that we'd really expect a real buy is I want to see a fat crack above this whole region. I won't even take it. I just want to see us crack it. And then I'll look for some serious liquidation at some point and start rallying. But that's future. So looking at it, that's how we're assessing the daily right now. And then taking a look at the 4-hour time frame, it's okay, well, easy. And it doesn't need to be too difficult on this end, okay? So we can see here that now we are definitely ascending. Let me adjust this for you guys real quick. So we can see here that we are ascending, but it is treated as a state of liquidation or relief. Let's get, does that look clean? That looks fine for now, legends. Okay, so taking a look at it, what do we see here? All right, well, first and foremost, let's just state that the daily is ascending here, and that's fine. Secondly, we broke out of, we did not break out, okay. So we broke out of this small term ascending trend. That's fine. But the reason why I was stating we didn't break, this is a false, that's false, because the trend is not a straight line shot, but it's a consistence of highs and lows. We're still creating higher lows on every pullback anyway, so the trend is still ascending. But looking at it from a smaller time frame perspective and looking at what potentially could come about, we did break out of the short term ascending trend. That's fine. Now, within that, we can see here that we do have this bearish momentum as the driver. This is the key area for us, because this is what started the bearish momentum. This could be warranted as a structural retest. Top of that, this is definitely warranted as profit taking or a state of relief. So what we are going to be wanting and be looking for, legends, to see, well, can we get this bearish momentum to continue to kick in? And can we start breaking back below and start targeting the monthly support once again, this being a short-term continuation pattern, and you start running that down? That's a very plausible idea, but once again, you're going to have to invalidate this initial bullish run by breaking back below this initial resistance that it did break above. Once you do that, you have all rights to warrant continuation down at least to these lows. Now, the reason why I don't want to press anything below the monthly is because of this. This could all be treated as relief after this driver, and then you could really start kicking back up to the upside. Once again, your next critical area on UJ is where my zone is sitting near the daily support. You can see a lot of false breaks within there, and so your sell is below that region, a pullback, and then you could start expecting a rally down to the weekly support. Once again, critical, because this is really where this entire bullish run started, okay? So any continued sells have to be below this low here, just to state that all of this is invalid. But until we get there, you guys are really just working within this region here and trying to figure out, when is this going to kick in? This is my driver right now. This is my key area that I'm sitting at. And so as long as this holds, we're still expecting downside as long as we invalidate this previous region. cleaner sells are below here. This is critical. And remember, this can be treated as relief for upside. The only way we see buys, legend, is if and only if you broke back above. But then again, you are at a higher risk because you do have just the top sitting there. It's not the best R&R. But you look above the daily resistance, a continuation pattern, and once this flags out, try running it back to the tops and potentially back to the weekly resistance. Not something I would be interested in, but it's definitely a trade idea. GBP USD, guys, just like Euro Dollar, has not done much. Very similar in structure. We can see a couple of similarities in both. And so let's begin on what we see very similar. Just like Euro US Dollar, we see a lot of pending orders sitting at that 130.82 handle. Now, within that, Legends, I want to take your attention to how this bearish momentum did come about, which is by breaking those lows, which is what started this entire rally down. Okay. Now, one thing to factor in is that you guys can see that this is an impulse. And on top of that, this is not a continuation pattern, but this is a reversal pattern. So please keep in mind that any sells or buys that you take within this will be warranted as short-term, moderate to higher risk, only because you have one driver telling you it's bearish, but you have to factor in all the pending orders that are sitting here. And on top of that, what the formation is telling you. Remember, for a bearish momentum to form, you need a high, then you need a low, then you need a lower high, and you need a lower low. In this case here, we just have a high and we have a low. We still need a lower high and a lower low. So we are going to be waiting for that. But within that, Legends, right, just like EU, we could expect a couple of places where GU could pull back too. My 4 yellow lines, guys, not counting the neckline, is ideally where I'm going to expect GU to come back to. So if we start to flag out, which I'm expecting, this is all going to be treated as short-term, moderate to higher risk. And the reason why I'm saying we first could get to that 136 handle is because that's where the initial left shoulder was created on this head and shoulders pattern. Now, that could occur, filling some serious pending orders from the bears and start dropping price. Now, if that continues to fail and the bulls are still keeping the steam engine rolling, could see continuation up to where that initial bearish momentum occurred, creating a structural retest, and then from there we could expect another rally down. That is very possible, Legends, but like I said, for that to happen, that's going to at least take a couple of months, and so it's just giving you guys key indications of where you guys can understand price can move. One thing that I need you all to understand is if you guys trade the FX market and you guys have no clue where you're looking to take price short-term and long-term, listen to me very carefully right now. Do not trade the live game. Simply for the fact, guys, that the markets are not going anywhere. You see, notice what I'm doing here. I'm giving you guys reasons on why the buys and the sells are short-term, even if we start rallying to the upside, why it's going to be warranted as short-term, and where I'm going to be buying pound to the maximum. I won't buy pound past 138. Why would I want to incur the consolidation? Why would I want to incur all of these pending orders that are coming about? It's not something that I'm interested in. So my whole point going back into is that if you guys don't have a good understanding of where you're going to ride these trades into and the trade durations, you guys should not be pulling into the live game unless your style is different. That's fine. But even as an intraday or as a scalper, for example, I was on a gentleman earlier today. Shout out to you, Legend, full time. And he takes, our approach and he mitigates it to a smaller time frame. And, in the end of the day, even when I was listening to him speak, he always had a plan on where the duration of that trade moves. You guys must understand the reason why I'm always factoring in structural retest. I'm always factoring in X, Y, and Z is because you have to have an entirety of a plan. If not, you're gonna lose. It's simple as that. So what I'm saying, guys, is always make sure you guys have a duration. For example, if this started breaking out, I don't know if I'd be comfortable taking the sell. Why I'm saying that? Because you know what? You look left is I don't want to deal with this. I'm just not interested in all of this. You know what? If you want to try to run it straight into there, be my guest. I'm looking for clean flowing trades that I can sleep like a baby at night with. And if that caused me to pull the trigger once a week and I get my 100+ pips out of it, by all means, life is good. And so, Legends, moving into the smaller time frames, right? And real quick, just going back into it, I'm never advising anyone to never not be in the live game, but you have to understand they're really not going anywhere, okay? The desire to make money should not be as big as the desire to truly learn the skill set. Because one last thing I want to touch on, and then we'll continue on the webinar, is this. I put an Instagram post out the other day, and it was based on traders' expectations. And a lot of traders, they come to me and they're like, Albert, I want to make $500,000, or I want to make $1 million this year. I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, what'd you make? I don't mean to be personal, but what did you make this year in your own salary? And some people be like, they'll say X, Y, or Z. Let's say, for example, someone, I was having this conversation, someone said, I want to make 50K. I make 50K a year. And I'm like, all right, so you make 50K a year. And now you're coming and telling me that you want to make $1 million a year. I've never heard of a company that hired someone and paid them the CEO salary right off the bat. I've never heard of a company do that. You look at this in the end of the day, you get paid based on your experience and what you know. That's what happens. Now, don't get me wrong. You could have good runs. You can make really good money, but I'm saying from a consistency perspective. You get what you get based from an experience perspective, just like a company will hire you based on what your criteria is and what you can, what you can bring to the table. And so, looking at it, just going back into it, guys, process first, then money, process first, then money. Trust me. There's a gentleman that I'm working with. I won't, mention his name or stuff like that, but, he wants to get in this industry and really wants to help others and stuff like that, and he could have easily said, no, I want to take the money and I just want to work and so forth. And, he took the correct necessary steps. He said, you know what, I'm going to shut down. And when I feel like I'm 100% and I'm ready to roll, I'm going to go live and I'm going to take it by the horns. And I was like, that's the way to go. In the end of the day, guys, before you can help anyone else, you got to help yourself. That's why, I personally get upset when I see other people, who learn how to trade or they think they learn how to trade after 3 months, start offering education or whatever. It's like, you're just scamming the next person in the end of the day. You come to me and you say, I want the scams to go away, but then you say, that you're going to go teach after 3 months. And it's like, well, you're just one of them then. You know what I mean? I understand why people do it in the end of the day, but what I'm saying in the end of the day, guys, is help yourself first, then help the world. That's fine. You know what I mean? But don't ever incur additional stress when it's not needed. That's all, And so, in the end of the day, to the gentleman that I was discussing about, he's a legend. He works his ass off. And it's the reason why he's going to be so successful in his life. He just understands when it's right, what actions to take at the right time. And so, love that. And so looking at GU Legends, sorry for going on a bit of a rant, right? We do have this impulse here. This is your reversal. That is not continuation. But notice this. Notice the behavior within the reversal pattern. You start with a strong impulse followed by a nice state of liquidation, another strong impulse followed by another nice state of liquidation, another strong impulse followed by another nice state of liquidation. Does anybody see the same cyclical behavior? You legends should, right? Because in the end of the day, this game is a game of same continuous movements over and over again. It doesn't change. If you guys don't believe me, just go back test back in the 1990s. You guys will be like, oh man, wow, it is really the same. And so the only times that market conditions change is when economic policies cause huge ripples in the markets and just cause for unstable movements. But looking at it, two ways. Once again, we're going to make it very simple. We have this as our driver. We can state that this was all treated as relief or a state of liquidation, right? And at the same time, we do have a short-term impulse to the upside. This is all treated as relief as well from that. So let's make it very, very simple in instances like this. For us to see continuation of this bearish momentum, what do we have to do? We have to invalidate this. How do we invalidate this? Well, it started out by breaking above this previous resistance. That's the driver. That creates our new higher low, which is why we can understand that this could all be treated as relief. Now, looking at it, you're simply going to look for a break at the lows, short-term pullback, and you could run that straight back down to the lows. That's quick, clean, and simple. Continuation trades are just continuation by breaking fast below. Your ultimate target is that monthly support and no more. Same thing with the buys, okay, legends? So what you're looking for in this scenario here is you guys are looking for a strong impulse, not only above the weekly resistance, but you want to put it above the daily descending, get above this previous region to invalidate that initial bearish momentum. Once you do that, then from there, expect a short-term pullback and things of this nature. Once you break out, you could expect a short rally back to the weekly resistance. Once again, this would all be treated as relief or profit taking. You've got to factor in where we are within momentum, right? And so you could expect another drop back down. And this could still flag out to the monthly resistance, but if you look at how this would play out, it's still treated as relief after all of this movement here, and we could expect another drop down. So just keep that in mind. Failure to do either legends will just warrant consolidation within pound. That should not be something that you guys are interested in. Last two legends, AUD, USD. This is very similar to New Zealand dollar, and we're going to go over that. So you can see here, I'm not giving you guys the monthly and weekly. Let's take a look at the entirety of the daily. My apologies, legends. So we got a couple of things going on here. What do we got here? We got this huge range. That's a given. And there's a lot of pending orders sitting here. If you guys can sell through here, you guys are stronger than I am. I'm not interested in that. But it does look like we're going to drop one more because you can see after we made this impulse, this was reversal and not continuation, but we never broke. And we did finally relief a little bit, but then we made another drop. Then we started creating the pattern, you know, a nice pullback, another drop, and we're just in the same thing here. So we could expect one more drop down. That's possible. But I mean, it's really tough to say because only for the factor that you look left and what has occurred here in the past, there's a lot of pending orders. So you have to be careful. But same thing from the buy's perspective, you know, you have to create short-term higher highs and start warranting a break above. Let's take the fibs off to make everything clean. And so just look at this right here, legends. You can see that we're range bound. Don't make it any complicated, right? For the buys, just wait for a break above, not only the monthly resistance. I mean, you could trade within here, but I'm not interested. We'll go in that smaller time frame, but for the daily, just wait for a break above, continuation above the monthly, and start running it back above. Same thing for the sell. The sell is below the weekly support, short-term continuation pattern, and then start running that back down to the monthly support. Failures to do either, you're just in consolidation. Now, why am I saying below these two key critical areas? You don't want to get caught in false breaks. You don't want to get caught in false breaks. Okay. So looking at it from the 4-hour time frame perspective, where can we move? Where can we move? Let me give one thing for you guys so that you guys have a clear sight. There you go. Much easier now. Okay. So let's take a look at what's going to happen on AU. Even though we broke out, I'm just going to move my trend, and then that looks ugly, but we'll clone it. That's fine now. Cool. Okay. Looking at it, legends. You have this massive rally that caused all of this. That's an ugly color. That caused all of this or relief, but within it, legends, can see that we do have a strong impulse here, treating all of this as relief for a state of liquidation. But once again, we are short term, which warrants a range bound environment. Everything is short term from the buys and the sells. Instead of trying to make it too tough and figuring out, is this the driver, is this relief, whatever you want to say, just make it very simplistic and very easy inside the range. We can see here that we've had false breaks above these highs before. You're simply going to wait for this to flag out. Once it breaks out, pulls back, expect rallies to the weekly and to the daily. Now, if we break below the lows, legends, what you guys want to see here is you guys want to see a break below not only the daily ascending, but below the 73.71. We can see that this is the last higher low of this short-term state of liquidation. You'd expect a pullback or a state of relief after the impulse. That's a given. Once we break out, retest, you can expect a rally back down to the range. Your goal is not to target the monthly support, a weekly support, only because you want to factor in all the false breaks that occurred. You know, deal with what's in front of you. Don't try to deal with what's ahead of you. You know, never assume. Always base your movements based on what the markets are telling you. Failure to do either, legends, will warrant consolidation. You're not interested in that. Cleanest buys are above the range and above the daily descending. You want to get above this region to invalidate this, and cleanest sells are below the weekly support. And I'm talking free-flowing movements. This wouldn't be free-flowing, but at least it's a cleaner buy than staying in the range. Last but not least, legends, New Zealand dollar. Same concept like AU. It's at a very critical area. You can see that there are a lot of pending orders sitting in the same similar region, just like AU. It's not something that we should be interested in from a buy and sell standpoint. And so taking a look, what is going on? We see this huge impulse to the downside followed by a nice state of liquidation or relief, signifying to us the potential patterns of potential behavior that's coming about of this structure. Then we can see another strong impulse that was made to the downside. And from there, now we can see that structure is in a state of liquidation, relief, consolidation, and things of this nature. From the daily perspective, it's very simple, right? Because all you're waiting for is a break above or below the range to tell you which way that we're going to move. This is a bit more critical, like we said, because of all the pending orders that we saw in the past. The buys, you have a short-term rallies back to the upside if that breaks out, but once again, this is still all treated as relief or a state of liquidation. You have to factor in what the driver is. So taking a look at it from a smaller time frame perspective and seeing how we can go about it, just like AU, we are range bound after this initial drop. Please keep in mind the daily still descending. Within it, legends, we can see that we do have this short-term state of relief or liquidation after this initial drop. But within that, we are simply range-bound, just like I illustrated on AU. So let's make it very simplistic, very easy. If you see a break not only below 67.85, but below 67.60, then from there, you're going to look for a short-term pullback. Now, you could expect a bigger one. And then from there, rally back below. Now, if you don't get that, legends, then for the buy, what you're simply going to expect is a strong break back above from their short-term pullback, and then you could expect a rally back to the upside. Reason why I have entries above here is this is a short-term buy to the tops of the range. This is a short-term sell to the higher low, but it's really your sell is below here down to here. That is your cleanest sell, and your cleanest buy is above the range. Failure to do either should warrant consolidation. That is not something you guys are interested in. And with that, legends, those are the 6 setups that I want to review in reference to this week's weekly webinar. Once again, legends, we're about to get into the Q&A, but I just want to touch up on some things real quick. And that, I will, operate on the webinars based on how market conditions are coming about. And I'll always do weekly webinars for you guys, but you have to factor in, I'm not going to necessarily go so in depth about material like monthly and weekly time frames when the structure's been the same every single week. You guys can just go to past webinars to take a look at that. At the same time, it saves some time for you guys as well. And so, taking a look at what's going on within market structure, we made it very point blank, very easy on which way structure needs to move, which way we need to go about for us to take trades. You see, the biggest issue in the end of the day is that I find it funny that all my students, they know the type of environment this week, and yet they're still telling me that they're taking trades. I mean, look, if you're an intraday trader, be my guest, you know what I mean? Or if your goal in the end of the day is that you're going to take short-term trades, then, go ahead and be guns blazing. You also want to take into consideration that this was kind of the last week of July into August. And on top of that, August is not the best month to trade either. September through December are your months to fly. That's Q4. And so, looking at it, legends, just be patient and just be disciplined. In the end of the day, stop treating this like a get-rich-quick scheme. Look, I'll be the first one to talk. I was the man when it came to treating this like a get-rich-quick scheme, okay? Look, I'm not this perfect, trader, or maybe how you guys perceive it now. I mean, back in the day, I was a mess, legends, just like everyone else. We're human. We're prone to error, but the way that I've become successful is that I literally just got fed up. I just got so fed up with everything. It's just like, you don't care if you win or lose. You just want to say you're consistent at that point. You know what I mean? And so in the end of the day, legends, I really appreciate you guys coming out here. I hope you guys enjoyed the webinar. I don't really expect many of these movements to come about tomorrow. Most likely, markets are going to consolidate leading into NFP. But if they come about, at least you guys have good indications of which way that market should be moving. And so next week, like we saw on the economic calendar, we are looking for some better trades to come about, only because we don't have as much news up until I think only about Thursday. So it's going to be free flowing for the remainder of starting next week. But all in all, legends, markets are pretty much the same. Nothing's really changing. And so if that's the case, you just want to be very careful on how you go about it. If the market environment is range bound for the week, don't come and tell me that you're going to have the greatest trading week of your life, because you're not. I mean, unless, something like, just catastrophically happened, this is what you get for the week. And you have to deal with that. And you have to accept that. What I find interesting is that people will force things because the environment's not giving them what they want. And, and if that's the case, then, you're not going to be successful in the game. In the end of the day, you can't push it. You just can't, there are weeks, guys, where I make really good money. There are some weeks where I might not pull a single trade. You know what I mean? And so it's just a give and take type of game. You can't expect that you're going to be a winner every single week, or that you're going to be trading every single week. The name of the game is being, a preserver of capital. I want you guys to think about it like this in the end of the day, and then we'll go into the questions and answers. If you guys are the commander in chief, if your account are your soldiers, you are the commander in chief, you are the lieutenant. Your goal is to send your soldiers out, take trades, right? And have your soldiers come back and bring more soldiers. That's how you grow an army, right? Same thing here, legends. If you guys are the commander in chief or you're the lieutenants, you have to think about all the risks associated when you pull a trade, because you have to think about it. Well, let's say you put $1,000 on the line for a trade. You just sent 1,000 soldiers out there. They better come back and at least bring back 1,100 soldiers. You know what I mean? 100 more soldiers than before. You have to assess what's the risk that some of my soldiers can get beat up. And that's what you really have to take into consideration. That's why, in the end of the day, legends, that's why I'm only pulling 1-2 trades a week, because I love my soldiers and I love them a lot. And so they bring soldiers back to me consistently. And that's all I care about. They do their job, I do mine, and that's it. You got to work, you got to think like that in a harmonious way. And so with that, legends, thank you so much for coming on board again. Now we're going to get into the questions and answers and stuff. If you guys don't know how the questions and answers work, I will answer anything that you guys want pertaining to trading, whether it's some of the stuff I was saying on the webinar, or ideas or questions that you guys may have had. Going to be doing the Q&A for the next 5-10 minutes. If you guys want to unmute your mic, you guys want to share your screen, whatever it is, go right ahead. This is your time now, guys, to pick my brain and things like that. So if you guys want to message in the chat room, whatever it is, by all means, go right ahead and do so. And yeah, So does anyone have any questions for me? I know I answered technical trader stuff. Shout out to you, big man. Hope you're doing well. Got my recording back, got my mic back, so I can send you a proper response today on Telegram. How do you know when to enter on support or resistance? So Diego, we don't necessarily enter on support and resistance. Support and resistance are just mere indications. It's our foundation. But we have specific criteria that we look for when it comes to entering and exiting our positions. It's a common question that I get quite a bit on the webinars, and people ask me, how do I go about the entries and exits? And I would absolutely love to explain to you guys. It's just that it takes a lot of time and a lot of information to process and on how we approach it. But if you want to know about how we create our support and resistance from a basic standpoint, there are 2 free introduction videos on the website, on my website, www.ThatFxTrader.com. By the way, legends, I got an exciting announcement to tell you all, but if you guys are interested, you guys just go to here. And if you guys would go to more, and then you guys see free introduction videos over here, then from there you guys can go and you guys could download the 2 free introduction videos, and you guys would be golden to go about that and get those. And so one thing though that I want to let you guys know, and let me know if that makes sense, Diego, you can go there, legend, just download these, and then it'll bring you into the 2 free introduction videos that you can get as well. And so the one exciting thing that I want to let you guys know is that we have a whole new website coming out for the legends, for the students, primarily for the students and anyone that's going to join coming about. And so some huge things that have never been done before will be enlisted onto the website for students and stuff like that. So just stay tuned, guys. Won't spoil too much right now, but just will say this: we're going to start doing things that no one else has done. So just be on the lookout. And then it said, how do you edit your charts as price continues moving through the week regarding the fact that setups were already placed over the weekend? I just update my levels. I mean, monthly and weekly levels don't change, right? Because I only change those once a week. So my dailies and trends are the only things I need to update. Does that make sense? Sam, you're a legend. How we doing, big man? I didn't realize it was you. What's going on, legend? But yeah, does that make sense? Monthly, weekly, we're not updating because it goes throughout the, so monthly, weekly, we're not updating because they don't change. And then dailies are the only ones we're updating if they are breaking above or below. Does that make sense? Adrian, big man, how we doing, legend? What's going on? What's going on, big man? But yeah, guys, if you guys have any other questions, by all means, ask straight away. If you guys want to share your screen or things of that nature, go right ahead. I do want to let you all know, to the international legends out there, your boy will be in 5 countries for 19 days. So England's first on the 9th. We're going to be doing a meetup there. Most likely going to be doing a meetup in Spain as well. I don't think the girlfriend wants to spend the entire vacation on just doing meetups. So I think Spain and England are going to be the top places that we're going to be doing the meetups. So definitely, guys, if you guys want to come out, say what's up to your boy, finally put a face to the voice, right? By all means, come ahead, say what's up. Hopefully seeing a lot of you guys there. Gonna be cool. Gonna be really cool to meet a lot of you guys. I know that I got a lot of UK students, so I'm excited for that. I'm excited. And then, like I said, moving forward, 2019, gonna be seeing a lot of you guys too. So a lot of things coming about, a lot of things, guys. But for the next 5 minutes or so, guys, if you guys have any other questions that you guys want to review or go over, if you guys want to share your screen, by all means, go ahead, ask, and things like that. You know, I will say this, though, guys, in the end of the day, if you're not truly, you know, progressing each week on your trading, it's either your style's wrong or who you're learning under or what you're doing is just something's off. Reason being, legends, is I can confidently say that the students of our course, they're working every week, and we're making some serious strides. And it's not because of me, it's just the community. The students community is just out of control. You know, everyone's just working left, right, and center. And so, you know, it's nothing to do with my system. You know, the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force drink. But it's just, you know, the community is sick. And so, like I said, you know, you don't be that person, legends. Don't be that person that said that. And I said this on the beginning. I'm gonna find it. I said this on a webinar. Don't be that person that said they were going to do something at the start of 2018 and you're literally at the same spot right now. Don't be that person. Why am I saying don't be that person? You still got 4.5, almost August, September, October, November, December. You got 5 months. You got 5 months to fix this. Don't be that person. Do not be that person. If you said you were going to do something in 2018 and you procrastinated, it's all good. Fix it now so that at the end of 2018, you could be like, you know what? I stuck to what I was going to do. For example, one of the best examples is Adrian, who's part of the course now. I remember one of his goals at the start of 2018 was, you know, I want to make sure that by the end of 2019, I have a very good understanding of FX trading, and then it's just experience from there. I'm going to tell you right now that this man is doing everything in his power to make sure by the end of the year, his goal is achieved. You know what I mean? So don't be that person that said, I'm going to do something in 2018. You aren't doing it. You can change very quickly, all right? Just make sure, legends. Yeah. Samuel, you got a mic? It'd be just easier to relay information over. That's all. If you don't have a mic, Samuel, that's all good. But if you have a mic, killing me, big dog. All good, all good. So you said, can we go over the 2 types of retest again? Is there a particular way to validate a structural retest? Big man, I can't go over it in here only because it's the webinar. That's the course material stuff. But, are you gonna make the live training this Sunday? Or no? If not, if you're not going to make the live training this Sunday, can you send me the same question over Telegram and I'll send it to you? I'll send you the answer. If that works, legend. That's fine. Oh, okay. Samuel, then send me a message on send me a message on Telegram. We get it straight, yeah? All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, just because it's course content material, that's all. That's the only reason why. But legends, for the last couple minutes, you guys got anything else, by all means, throw them at me. But if not, I just want to say this. I see a bunch of the students. I see Tom over there. Tom, what's up, champ? How we doing? You know, I see No 8. We got Mehdi. We got Technical Trader. We got Adrian. You know, we got Samuel. Some of you other guys, we got Yuli in here. Some of you guys might have different names. But in the end of the day, guys, you know, I see a lot of students out here that are hustling. They're still here in the webinars. I'm going to tell you right now, you get what you put in. You get what you put in. It's the truth. You know, you keep up with everything that's going on. You watching the videos. You going through everything. You can advance much faster than anyone else. You know what I mean? It's just simply you get what you put in. And so, you know, shout out to all you guys, you hustlers. And so, Tom, by the way, legend, going to get back to your messages today. I've been having a mic issue and I haven't been able to send anything out. And so it's been a bit of a big issue, and then internet troubles as well. And so, yeah, it's been a pain, but all good now. So I can start really unloading and stuff like that. But, you know, all in all, shout out to you guys for real. And so if you guys don't have any remaining questions, just want to leave you guys off with this. Thank you so much again, as always, for participating in the webinars, coming to the webinars, to the students, supporting always, and things of that nature. You know, you guys are just exceptional. You know, we just hit the 40K mark right now, and we're chugging along to the 50,000 mark now for followers, and can't thank you guys enough. You guys told me 20 months ago this is where I'd be, this is who I'd meet, and stuff like that. Like, no way in hell. So from the bottom of my heart, legends, from the bottom of my hearts, thank you so much for everything, as always. And so keep striving, legends. Keep chugging along. Proud of all of you. If you guys need anything, as always, you guys know where you guys can find me. And so Africa, I do plan on coming. I got a bunch of clients in South Africa and Africa as well. So that is a place that I definitely do have to come and say what's up to the legends over there as well. Next year, we're going to be doing a lot more traveling. I plan on getting my face out there a lot more, and so stuff like that. Just saying what's up to you guys, and just meeting all you guys really want to. And so I just think it'd be so cool. But as always, legends, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Seriously, I can't thank you guys enough. I always tell my girlfriend this every night. I'm like, you know, if I could thank them a zillion times over, I would. But you guys are amazing. So thank you so much as always. Keep striving, guys. I'll see you guys later. All right. Remember, guys, real quick, it's going to be uploaded to YouTube. So if you guys want to rewatch it, just wait for the announcement on Instagram, or if you guys are part of the Signal setups or training, you guys will know. And besides that, have a wonderful rest of the week. Trade safe. Remember, we got an NFP coming out Friday, so that means that markets are most likely going to consolidate leading into the data. And so just be careful, legends. All right, remember, in the end of the day, you have the difference between the opportunist and the gambler. The gambler is the person that will take every single opportunity. The opportunist will simply wait for the one perfect moment and pull the trigger on them. In my opinion, next week's going to be a safer week to trade, only because there's not that much data. But let's see, legends. So anyways, have a wonderful rest of the week. I see you guys all next week. Have a wonderful week, guys. Remember, webinar next week will be Tuesday at 5 p.m. I'll speak to you guys soon.